Hi all, welcome to the first video of my rebranded channel. I'm Cara Liebowitz, aka Spastic Fantastic. I have no idea what I'm doing, so welcome along for the ride. As I said, my name is Cara Liebowitz. I am multiply disabled. I have cerebral palsy, spastic diplegia, hence I'm Spastic Fantastic. ADHD, OCD, generalized anxiety disorder, and asthma. I am a big ball of disability fun. This channel is mainly going to focus on disability, activism, writing, perhaps some music, whatever you guys want to see. If you like what I'm saying, if you like what you're seeing, you can click down in the description. Am I doing this right? Down in the description. And buy me a coffee. Please buy me a coffee. Or a matcha green tea. Or something, please. Although Starbucks keeps giving me money, because I keep complaining about them on Twitter, I don't know if that's necessarily a lucrative coffee gaining strategy, though. So today, for my first video, I am going to talk about the history of the independent living movement. What do I know about the independent living movement? I know a lot. I work for the National Council on Independent Living, which is one of the national membership organizations for Centers for Independent Living. The other is the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living. It's April. So I like to think I know a lot. I know a lot about the history of the independent living movement, about the history of physically disabled rights movement. Don't know as much about the history of say the people with intellectual disabilities rights movement or the deaf rights movement, because I don't belong to those groups. If any of you would like to do a collab with me and talk about those things, let me know. And I will also link some of my favorite resources. So the independent living movement started in the 1960s with a man named Ed Roberts. Ed Roberts was a guy who had polio when he was 18, and he was paralyzed from the neck down, and could only breathe using an iron lung. If you don't know what an iron lung is, look up the images on Google Images, and watch some videos of some of the few surviving people who still rely on iron lungs. They were a type of respirator that they slid you into, and it basically mimicked what your diaphragm does for you when you breathe. Ed Roberts was able to go a few hours. Sorry, my nose is itching. Ed Roberts was able to go a few hours without being in the lung, but he needed to be in the lung at night. And so he was 18, graduated high school. Then he wanted to go to University of California at Berkeley. And Berkeley took one look at him and was like, "You want to go here? Really? Really? Yeah, that's funny. No. No." They said, "We've tried cripples before and it didn't work." So Ed Roberts sued them for discrimination. Remember, this was before the Americans with Disabilities Act, before Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Those are laws that, if you're not familiar with them, I can cover in another video. But remember, the gist of it was there were no disability rights laws in place at that time. But Ed Roberts sued the University of California at Berkeley, claiming discrimination. And get this, he won. He won! And Berkeley had to admit it. But the next problem was none of the dorms were accessible. None of the dorms could fit an iron lung. So they said, "You can live in the campus infirmary." And Ed Roberts said, "Okay." What was he going to do? So he set up his little own dorm room in the infirmary of University of California at Berkeley, and word started getting around that this paralyzed dude was attending college at UC Berkeley, and other people with disabilities started coming there, mostly other people with paralysis, spinal cord injuries, polio, that type of thing. And they kind of created a little movement in the infirmary of UC Berkeley. They called themselves the Rolling Quads, and so they started setting up a system where they would get note takers, they'd get people to push their wheelchairs around, they'd get students to be their personal care attendants, help them get out of bed, get dressed, shower, all that fun stuff. This was all totally grassroots, nothing from the university. These mostly guys, although I think there were a few women, just did it on their own. And so they did that for a few years, and then they started thinking, well, why is this limited to just campus? There's so many people that aren't on campus that live in the community that could benefit from this type of thing. So Ed went on to create the first Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, California. It's still operating today. And as of now, there are over 700 centers for independent living around the country. I will go into centers, or we call them CILs, CILs, in a little bit more detail in another video. But the core values that Ed Roberts had in mind when he created the first CIL are still in place today. CILs have to be what we call consumer controlled. That means they are run by and for people with disabilities. At least 51% of the board and staff of the Center for Independent Living have to be people with disabilities. So none of this, people without disabilities, parents of kids with disabilities, deciding what's best for disabled people. That's not to insult any parents. My parents are amazing, and I love them. And I know some really, really great parent advocates out there. But disabled people know what's best for ourselves, and that's the spirit behind CILs. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, I must emphasize, I have no idea what I'm doing. But if you like it, if you want to see more, subscribe, hit the bell so you get all notifications. I'm just mimicking what I hear other YouTubers say. Please subscribe. Comment down below if you like this video, what other topics you'd like to hear me talk about. I'm an author, I'm a writer, I'm a sensitivity reader. I am an author, I am an activist, I am a sensitivity reader. That's what I wanted to say. I'll link my website down below. Feel free to comment. Tell me what you want me to talk about. Or if you think this is a terrible idea and I should just stop. Okay, thank you for listening to me ramble on. I do that a lot. It's the ADHD thing. It's like actual diagnosed ADHD. Yeah, so thank you for watching my first video.